This is Kristin.
And this is Steve, and you are listening to Cycling Together, a podcast about all things bikes, riding, and riding together. All right. Well,
Hi.
we are doing a part 2 series because last time we talked about upgrades.
Yes.
And I guess we got a little in the weeds, and
Who's we?
Big picture, me. Right? So, there was a lot of theory, generalizations, and so we thought this time let's just go into sort of product classes. We'll pick each part of the bike, and you will, and say, okay, what is worthy of an upgrade?
Yeah.
Why should you think about an upgrade? And that kind
Yeah,
of
I
thing.
think some of the feedback we got from friends was I kind of expected more of a quick list, which is really hard with parts and components. Like it's super hard,
Yeah.
and there's so much that goes into the thinking. But I do think for the lay person like me, I'm just looking for you to say this good, this good, this good.
Right.
But before we get to that,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about last week's show. So as you know, I clip out pieces of the podcasts and I share them to all the socials, and they're
Right.
about 90 seconds. So let's be clear, you can't get that much
So
into
way
90
past
seconds.
the attention span of
Yes,
normal social media.
exactly. And there are a couple of reasons I do that. One, obviously, is to grow your audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
To get more people listening, connecting to the shop. But also, it's because I know someone's not going to listen to an hour and a half podcast,
Right.
or they may not
That was a long
even
one.
know about the podcast. And I think you share really good information for just the average person or someone who's thinking about cycling who's just not that deep into the weeds. And the goal, of course, is to break down the barriers to make cycling more welcoming and less confusing.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. That's the setup. This week, we had 2 videos that actually hit 10,000 views. And that happens when, people start to comment on them. And the comments we get on them tend to be hot takes and insults.
Right.
And the 2 were, one was about disc brakes
Mhm.
versus caliper.
Yep.
And one was about wireless shifting.
Yeah.
And some of the comments we got were, we had several people tell us that you and others that we knew who commented were clueless
Yep.
and stupid and that we should STFU.
Mm-hmm.
Who talks to people that way is my number one. Okay. And then other comments we got like, who cares what they're saying, lady? Both are available. Pick what you like and go down with your day, which was about the brakes.
Yeah.
Um,
The brakes or the shifting?
That was about the brakes.
Okay.
Okay. Then on the shifting, I'm left wondering how long these rides must be for shifting to be that bothersome of a convenience. Imagine complaining about pressing a button. Are we seriously saying it's physically hard to shift? Effing what? They did not say effing. And the last one was the meme of 2 cartoon guys laughing hysterically and then saying, women.
Right.
Okay. All those last ones were on the shifters.
Yeah.
I have so many thoughts on this. First of all, I would like to acknowledge most of the people, all of the people making the hot takes and terrible comments were men.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1. And number 2, they were not our men.
No.
They were not your customers. They were not our friends. They were not our colleagues. They were people from outside the world.
Right.
But it was a really good reminder to me about why cycling feels so intimidating and why cycling feels like such a not for me thing when you have all these people who are like, even faced with facts, right? We had one guy come in to the brakes one to talk about how, caliper brakes are just as strong. And somebody else came in and in 4 long comments, including the physics of it with the formula, explained why disc brakes were actually more powerful or whatever.
The thing is you can only buy disc brakes. That
Yeah.
whole the buying point is just a moot point.
I mean, but it's like, even when faced with science, the guy was like, no.
Right.
No, you're wrong. So I guess, I don't know what the point here is other than it's just a reminder. First of all, there's just a no empathy for people, no empathy for why someone might need a certain technology, arthritis, fused joints, like, but also I think it's important to remind people, women, pain is not required to earn upgrades. Experience is not required to earn upgrades, right? Like we've had this at the shop where someone's like, well, I bought this and it's terrible and I hate it and it hurts, but I'm going to ride it longer because I have to before I earn the next thing. And it's like,
okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
You're like, I mean, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. That's different. But like pain, a lot of these people were like, somebody said, disc brakes are, only acceptable for mountain bikes or road bikes don't need them. And I replied as you, well, as my wife said, when riding the PMC in the rain, they were really good. And his reply was like, I'll give it to you if there's hills. Why do I only get to use discs if I'm on hills? I only get to use wireless if I'm riding long enough. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a time where a lot of those comments probably would have bugged me, and they just completely shut right off me. I do not care.
Well, I think you have the confidence of a man. You have the confidence of an informed man in the cycling industry. You have the confidence of years of knowledge. And I'm not looking at it as like I don't deserve it. I guess I'm looking at it as someone who's trying to figure out how to make cycling more welcoming. And you see that and you're like, this is part of our problem.
That is a problem.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This needs to be like, lock it down, idiots. Like that's more what I'm saying. It doesn't affect me because I'm going to get all the things. I'm not going to be in pain. Forget it. Right? My saddle hurts. I'm getting a new saddle. Like I'm not putting up with that.
Right.
But there are others that, again, you hear that and you think they don't have a resource like you. They don't have the knowledge base. I mean,
yeah, well, you can imagine somebody going out and basically asking the internet about what they should do about a certain problem and then getting comments like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the person who was like, hey, lady, who cares? Pick one or the other. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be more knowledgeable.
Right.
Like, he was like, who cares? Just ride your bike. Stop talking so much. It's my podcast. Get off my internet.
Podcast over. That's it. We're done. There's no need to talk about this anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to stop posting. I had a little reconciliation with myself. Like, I'm not going to stop with the videos. I might not post them as frequently. I may not post them to all the channels. I don't know. But I'm not going to stop because I do think it's good to get good information out there.
Yep.
And the reality is you gained like 35 followers on Instagram in a couple of days, which is not huge numbers. But so for all the people that are yelling, there are other people who are like, oh, smart, I'm going to follow. They're just not saying anything.
Right. So in other words, the algorithms support idiots yelling at each other, and then
Well,
that gives you more support.
A little bit. And it's hard. Once I was like, oh, the videos are being viewed by 99% non-followers. But that's also because it's been viewed 10,000 times. You don't have that many followers. Right? Like just percentage-wise, once it starts to take off, it's always going to be a larger percentage. You only have on Instagram like 1,300 followers, right? Like, so I realize that's a skewed number. But the comments are why. And it's always, if you read them, it's like the comments that are calm and kind. Oh, I know him. Oh, it's Amos. Oh, it's, and the STFU.
Right.
That guy's in like England.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Some of them. Yeah. I do. Okay. I do spend too much time thinking about this. I did have a couple of friends reach out to me because I shared some of the screenshots, and a couple of people just kind of counseling me and reminding me to protect, like, that this is up to us how much we want to put out there, how much we want to, how much it's not our responsibility to respond. So, okay, the internet's great.
That English guy must be all over GCN's videos then.
I don't even know some of them. I honestly don't even think. There was one guy who came in. It was about how how much I think the British guy I'm thinking of he came into the one about how much a road bike should weigh, and he was like, bikes shouldn't be allowed on the road.
Oh,
like,
right.
What are you doing? Who are you? Why are you here?
And how did this get in your feed?
How did this get into your feed? Exactly. Like how? What?
What? Go watch the SUVs hitting bunny rabbits videos that you're used to.
Exactly. What are we doing here? So yeah, I think I try to find answers, and I'm not gonna find anything. So anyway, speaking of answers, let's talk about upgrades. Let's talk about more stuff.
Let's get a little bit more specific on upgrades.
I can get yelled at on the internet, or you can.
Right.
All right.
So we're going to kind of go through each category on a bike, and I did want to start off by saying that sometimes an upgrade, and we're going to call it that, if you will, is not necessarily an actual physical part. It is a change to your existing bicycle.
Okay. Let's start with the first one, which is seat posts and dropper posts.
Okay. So seat posts on road bikes and gravel bikes.
Okay.
And I suppose dropper posts on mountain bikes, but there can be some carryover to gravel bikes. So, like the only reason to really upgrade, if we're going to put that in quotes, your seat post on a regular non-dropper post.
Okay.
Is because you want to get it a little lighter, but you're not going to notice that in the bike.
Right. Yeah.
So it's actually a lot of times about the flex of the seat post. And a lot of the comfort that you can get on a road bike and a gravel bike comes from the flex of the post. And so, back in the day when top tubes on road bikes were straight across, they were horizontal to the ground, right, or parallel to the ground. And then they started having sloped top tubes and so forth. That actually, a lot of that reason was so they could reduce the number of sizes they made. But it actually increased the length of your seat post that was exposed.
Okay.
And that, in one part, created more comfort, especially over longer distances. Because it's a very minor thing. You're not going to notice it on a 10-mile ride, but on very long rides, it will dampen the road buzz.
I was going to say, it never occurred to me that my seat posts flexes.
Yeah, and it does
Or
quite a bit.
So you're talking about it like kind of move.
Yeah,
kind of
bending back. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And so it was about 20 years ago. I'd say there was a time when a lot of road bike brands were upsizing their seat posts, 30.9, 31.6. And, it was all about rigidity and putting that power into the saddle and putting the power to the road.
Oh.
And then it was, these things are harsh. Right? So nothing else really about the bike changed that much except the big fat diameter seat post, which made it stiffer. And all of a sudden people were like, this ride's too harsh. So that went away quickly. Okay. And even Cannondale was like, we're going to make our seat post really skinny. And I think it was 25.4 maybe millimeter diameter. Anyway, they went to a skinnier seat post on their Synapse to even make it flex more, to get more comfort. 27.2 is pretty much the de facto standard. That is where everything's settled into. But
aren't you limited by like the
diameter?
Right.
Yeah.
Of the frame.
Well, yeah, you have to get the size seat post for your frame.
Okay.
Right. So they do come in different diameters.
Okay.
Down to the 0.1 millimeter.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you?
But
right.
But a long time ago, you'd find a lot more diameters. But nowadays, it is really 27.2, 30.9 on mountain bikes, and 31.6 on mountain bikes.
Right. Does the material of a seat post matter? Like carbon versus
So
aluminum?
This is where you might upgrade, because if you go to carbon from an aluminum post, not only will you typically get more flex, but you'll also the properties of the carbon will dampen road buzz more as well. So over the long term, over the long ride, you will feel more refreshed at the end. All these little things add up. Now, a lot of road bikes are now coming with aero seat posts. So it's like a cam tail. It's a D-shaped seat post. So the air flows over it smoother. These, an arrow means a lot in the road.
Yes.
But these have now gone back to negating some of that flex because of the shape of the post, and now it can no longer flex as easy as a round post.
Okay.
So I will mention Scott's new arrow posts that have a big cutout in the back.
Okay.
So what they've done is they've created basically a dual purpose system. One, the post is very skinny in the middle, so now it flexes again.
Yep.
And then also they have accessories that you can fit into that. So right as it comes out of the box, it's just basically a rubber insert so that it keeps that D-shaped profile. But you can put in, the tail light that fits in there, and I think they might have a saddlebag and that kind of stuff that goes in that space. But it maintains the flex.
Are the D-shaped ones proprietary?
They
shapes?
are.
So like when you're buying the bike, you want to think about whether or not the frame requires a proprietary seat post.
You do. And I wouldn't worry about it so much on a road bike because you tend never to break those posts on a road bike. They especially like a carbon post will last forever, essentially. But I have had people I know ask about, they've had aero seat posts on their gravel bikes.
Oh.
And they come in like, I really want to put a dropper into this. Nope.
Oh.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Now, speaking of gravel bikes, someone was asking me last weekend about suspension seat posts for gravel.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about them?
I think they're great.
Okay.
Yep.
Why don't I have one then? No, just kidding. Kidding.
That's a good question.
What's the benefit of them?
Well, the benefit is they reduce impacts.
Okay.
Right? So, and the more you do mixed terrain, we're going to call it, right? So the more you're taking your gravel bike, you're really underbiking, you're going on single track and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
The more you're going to get a benefit out of a suspension seat post. I wouldn't really consider it if you're just doing gravel roads.
Yep.
And dirt roads and so forth, but on really rough terrain, they can take that. They can allow you to put power into the pedals while you're seated better because those hits that suddenly the rear wheel pops up, right?
Okay.
And it's going to interrupt your pedal stroke where that can get absorbed and you can just put the power down better. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything on and let's talk about gravel dropper posts. So how many people are doing that?
I don't see a demand for that at all.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't see the need for that.
Okay. Then you should be riding a mountain bike.
Right. And I there's very few times I guess in the past where I'm like, I don't see a need for that, and then I end up owning it and everybody else wants it too. This is one that I don't really see. I'm sure there are people out there who ride specific terrain where they're like, every time I go down this huge drop in this gully, I'd love my dropper on a gravel, but it takes, I don't see the need for it.
We actually talked about, it was a couple of years ago, we had that one customer who came in and he had bought his wife an e-bike that was not step through.
Yes.
And she was saying she could not get her leg over it.
Yes.
Right? She could not get her leg over. When she was on it, she was fine.
Yeah.
She could not get her leg over the saddle.
Yeah. She was older.
She was older.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about how maybe you could put a dropper on that just so that she could get on the bloody bike.
Yeah. And so that's actually a really good point about using a part for something that wasn't necessarily initially designed for. Right. Dropper posts were like, well, let's make a post that goes down so people can get on their bikes easier. That wasn't the intent.
Right.
But it is a side benefit.
Yeah, and in this case, her husband it was like a buy one, get one free bike.
Yep.
You would rather he had bought a bike that she could get on.
Right, step through. Yeah.
But a dropper on a bike they had just bought was going to be less expensive than buying another bicycle. Yeah. Right, and the bike otherwise was fine for her.
Yeah, that e-bike, Yep. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about upgrading to a seat post, definitely, you don't go for just lightness. You want, ideally lighter,
right,
and that has flex built in. And there are some brands that are just known to be more comfortable. in terms of flex.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, can I put you on the spot?
Yeah.
Like, what would be one?
Ritchie is known for having more flexy seat
Really?
posts. Yeah.
Is there a chance it can be too flexy? Just something about the idea of my
Look,
seat post
if
flexing
you're-
seems like a bad idea.
You might not want that in the professional racing scene, depending on your discipline.
Okay.
But otherwise, it is not flexy in a way that you're going to
It's like
feel.
spaghetti.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't worry about that. Oh, and Ergon. So Ergon makes this really cool split seat post. I actually have it on my gravel bike.
Okay.
And that is also designed to flex even more than a solid carbon post could.
Oh, okay. Okay, that
All right.
brings us to handlebars and stems.
All right.
You actually just got a new handlebar for your new bike, and you even said on the ride,
Oh,
this is so much better.
So we can talk about that. So let's talk. We're going to talk about both road and mountain.
Yes.
All right. So should we start with stems first or handlebars? Let's start with stems.
Okay.
Okay. Stems are usually changed for sizing. Like the angle of the stem, the rise of the stem, either up or down,
Okay.
and then the length of the stem. So
Yes.
that is really the reason most people change their stems out. It's just to size and fit the bike properly.
Right.
And so on road bikes, that's typically all people are doing. They're not. Some people might upgrade a stem to the exact same size they have because they want the cachet of a certain brand on there for their stem.
Or they want
But
a
they're
pretty
really
color.
not getting any benefit out of that.
Yes.
There
Yep.
are stiffer stems, and pro sprinters are known to want a very, very stiff stem. So when they're out of the saddle and you are yanking on those bars left and right because on the bottom drops, you want that stem to be ultra stiff. That is not for
The opposite.
that is
of
not
the
a
seat
need
post
for more
situation.
normal people. Right.
Exactly. Okay.
All right. On mountain bikes, stems are usually only upgraded for appearance. Now, there can be really cool stems for mountain bikes. They're CNC because they're short. So because of that, they can be CNC machined. They do all kinds of cool anodized colors. It's a lot about the look. And I have no problem with that. I like, right? Because I got that like red stem that I have put on the one intense frame that's for sale, right?
Yeah.
It looks really awesome. Yeah.
It's
So
all about
those
the
are cool.
blingy stuff. I love
And
it.
then the only other thing to consider for stems is the sizing. So
Okay.
road bike stems and handlebars. So basically the clamp diameter that goes around the handlebar,
Yeah.
that is all 31.8 on a road bike.
Oh.
All right. It used to be 26 years ago, but those don't exist anymore in road bikes.
Okay.
So any road bike drop bar is going to fit all of those road bike stems. You don't have to worry
Okay.
about that clamp diameter.
Yes.
Unless, again, you have a really old road bike and you're trying to put a new bar on. Now, mountain bikes use the same diameter, but now they've been going to 35 millimeter. And so a larger diameter, and larger diameter tubes mean stiffer,
Okay.
right? Now, here's the real consideration if you're looking to upgrade your bar and stem. The 35 millimeter, because it's stiffer, right? It is actually, I find, and if you look in the professional World Cup scene, a lot of pros will find that a 35 millimeter aluminum bar is too stiff. It is too much vibration coming through the bars.
Okay.
It increases hand fatigue over the long run and so forth. So now carbon bars, on the other hand, at 35 millimeter, they have been engineered and designed to make use of that, where they have extra strength in the middle, but then the carbon fibers are tuned as they go out to the outside to take advantage of the fact that they can now flex more on the outside while not losing the strength in the middle.
Fancy.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
now they do make 31.8 carbon bars as well, but those are actually becoming harder to find
Okay.
than 35 millimeter carbon bars. So that is sort of my recommendation. If you're going to stick with an aluminum handlebar, stay with 31.8.
Okay.
So the stem has to be matching for that
Yep.
clamp diameter. And if you're going to go to a carbon bar, then you can go to 31 or to 35 millimeter.
Okay.
Yeah, and just real quick on my handlebars on my bike. We just talked about stems.
Well,
Let's
okay.
talk about handlebars.
Yes, let's talk about that, and then I have some questions.
Okay. So for road bars, if you're looking to upgrade your road bar, it's typically just for some people want a carbon bar. They're going from aluminum to carbon,
Okay.
right? And carbon bars will reduce the buzz of the road a little bit. Not, you put a carbon bar on and you ride around the neighborhood, you're like, well, that wasn't any different.
Right.
But it does over the long haul. Over long rides, there is less hand fatigue with that.
Okay.
Typically. And so usually you're changing your bar to get sizing. Oh, I want a wider bar. I want a narrower bar. I want a bar that has a flat top, which is somewhat for aero gains, but those aero gains are typically negated by the bar wrap on top, unless you keep that bare.
Got it.
Right?
Yep.
But some people like when they're climbing, like to put their hands on the top of the bars.
Okay.
I like to do that every now and then, and they kind of like the feel of a flatter bar rather than round.
Okay.
Right. And then on gravel bikes, a lot of times people will want a big flare at the drops. So the hoods are narrower than the drops, and most people don't spend any time on the drops on a gravel bike, even on a road bike nowadays. But what a flare does is it gets your hands wider, and now you're wider, so you actually have more stability. And that's why on a gravel bike, flare bars are popular, because if you're going down a technical, bumpy hill, you can actually go down to the drops, and now your hand stance is wider and you're more stable in steering.
And you should still be able to reach the bottom of the brakes.
Oh, and
when you're in
you
the
actually
drops.
have more. You have
Right.
more grabbing power on your brake levers in the drops.
And I will say, I like the flare when your hands are on the hoods, because that's how your hands are.
Well, you don't have to set. So usually
Mine
if I'm putting
are.
a set of flare bars on a bike, I actually match the angle of the hoods to the flare, because because a lot of people are doing this nowadays where they're angling in their road bike hoods, because it can create a little more natural of a wrist bend. Yeah. So and then on flare bars, that sort of angle of the hoods is more natural to the bar itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have so many questions. Where should I start? Since we're just on gravel,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about suspension stems.
Okay. Yes. All right. So those have become popular.
Yes.
And I ride one, you ride one, and I think they do a tremendous job of absorbing impacts.
Right.
It's usually the tiny flutter, bumps and so forth like that. But even now and then, a good sort of jolt that you weren't expecting, it reduces the amount of movement of the front end of the bike. It reduces the amount of impact into your hands. And so I think they're just fantastic.
Right. I think they help with control too. But yes, it's just the stem, and it has elastomers in it.
Yeah.
Like it
so
has,
the big
depending
two
which one
ones
you
are the
want.
Redshift,
Yes.
which has elastomers inside, and you have to change them out by taking the handlebar off and going through the front faceplate.
Yeah.
And then the E-Silk, which has an elastomer that you can change at will without doing anything other than undoing a top bolt, pulling out the elastomer, and putting a new one in.
Right.
So, and that one also has a dial on top that's optional on one of the models, where it will go from softer to firmer within the range of that particular softer, firm elastomer, whatever you've put in there.
And I mean, I find even riding it on the road, it's not so cushy that it impacts your road riding. It's just a slight.
It is, but they do feel different. So it is
Yes.
something you have to get used to when you first put on the bike. It's like, whoa, this is different. It feels softer and everything up
Yes.
front. There's a little bit of movement. Once you get used to it, though, yeah, it's fantastic. I could not have imagined doing the Rift in Iceland without my suspension stem.
Okay.
That was a really rough track, and that was, yeah.
How much is a suspension
They are
stem?
expensive. They're around,
Okay.
let's just say around $200.
Okay.
Yeah.
Integrated stems and handlebars.
That is a great point to bring up. So
Means what? What did I just say?
so there's two things here. If your road or your mountain bike,
Yes.
there are one-piece bars and stems. So they
Yes.
all are just sort of formed together. And if you get that on your bike, you are this is the length of your stem. This is the width of your with your bars. On road, you can cut down mountain bike bars if you need them shorter.
Okay.
And if you want to change that, you have to change the entire bar stem system, which are very expensive.
Yeah.
Usually from $300 to $500.
Okay.
So be careful if you get a bike like that. The bike feels good as it is. A lot of companies who have that one-piece system have lower models that use a two-piece system. You could always go to that if you wanted to.
Okay.
But many times those stems are proprietary in that they are formed such that all of their special headset spacers and caps and so forth all fit around that. And if you were to change it, it would look kind of funky.
I was going to say, so say you bought a Scott Spark that has the one piece and all that, and you were like, oh, I really
Let's say you wanted a riser bar on that.
Yes.
Bike. Yeah. Like
can you do that? You can take that out.
So you would have to get Scott's stem to maintain the look, right? And you can get that in different lengths.
Okay.
And then you could buy whatever bar you wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Tell me about the bars on your Intense Spider.
Okay. So I put that together. Was it the day before we left on our trip?
It was really quick.
Yeah.
You're like, what do I have?
What do I have? and I had gotten a new stem for that bike, which was a 35 millimeter. Realizing all of a sudden that I didn't have I was moving some parts over from another bike and so forth, but I didn't have any 35 millimeter bars. I had been running 31.8.
Okay.
But I wanted to run this new stem, so I looked around the parts bins and I was like, oh, I've got this 35 millimeter bar. I'll put this on. It should be fine.
Famous last words.
Right. And this is where, so there were two things with it. One, that bike was a little bit different geometry and I needed a little bit more rise.
Okay.
So that was one. It wasn't quite enough rise, and that was just sort of my fit in terms of my not really reach to the bars, but drop to the bars. And then the second thing is I really noticed how that thing was. It was stiff, way stiffer than the carbon bar I had come off of on my past bike. And I was feeling it in my hands bad.
Really?
So I was like, all right, this has to go. So I got the 1-Up carbon bar, which is very interesting in that it comes out of the stem, flattens to where they want sort of the flex zone. Yes. And then goes back to round for the grips. Oh. Now that was a 35 millimeter rise. That, and then when I put that on the bike and rode the bike, it was night and day.
That's what you said.
Night and day. It was, not only was it just so much more comfortable that you could feel in your, it took out all of those harsh vibrations in your hands.
Yeah.
But then the rise just put me exactly where I wanted to be. So.
Okay. And in that, I will say on the mountain bike thing, I think maybe underappreciated is just the grips themselves.
Oh, the grips. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Yes.
Because I know you put on my bike different grips that are
ergo
molded so that I can rest.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up because that is an awesome and cheap upgrade. For people. So grips come in different diameters, for one. So for smaller hands or larger hands or smaller hands that prefer larger grips and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So we're talking mountain bikes here now. So how your hand wraps around the grip and your fingers, that itself can lead to more or less fatigue based on how the diameter of what you're having to hold on to.
Yeah.
And then many grips are more cushioned than others. Mm-hmm. So that again increases comfort.
They're made with different materials.
Yep.
Right.
Now lock-on grips, which basically have aluminum clamps that you turn a little screw and that locks the grip onto the bar.
Okay.
I mean, those are the most popular. Those are the most used. They are easy to take on and off. They're great. But because they have to use a plastic sleeve underneath, they have less cushion than other pure rubber grips. Oh. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
So like ODI makes a really popular all rubber grip that can be very cushiony. But you do need to put that on.
And they come in fun colors.
And they come in,
but I like,
and grips come in fun colors.
but I like mine. What is mine again?
And then there's ergo grips.
Okay.
So I mean, that's sort of a generalized term for the kind of grip that's not just round. It profiles and it flares out
Yes.
to provide a bigger surface area for your palm.
Yeah.
And so that can also increase the surface area of your hand contact, which then can reduce fatigue. It does. It can change on however dynamic you are on a mountain bike in terms of rolling your hands around based on the terrain. So some people don't like it for that reason.
Yes.
But otherwise, they can be fantastic for people.
I like them.
Yeah. And then on road bikes, you can get much thicker bar tape. And the thicker bar tape is just cushier and can reduce hand fatigue. There's gel inserts that also can go under bar tape.
Do you have a favorite bar tape brand?
I do have a couple favorite bar tape brands
hit
right
me
now.
with them.
All right. So the first one is Cyclovation.
Okay.
And they make really cool color fades.
Yep.
Right? And I think color has color went out of bar tape for a long time. In the 80s and 90s, we were putting all kinds of weird colors on our bars. Not weird. Well, yeah, no weird. We all those like marble splashes and all that kind of stuff, right? And then color went away, and it was like black and white for such a long time, and a few times red and blue. And Cyclovation has now come in with that sort of grippier tape feel, and then they've got these really great all kinds of fades where it's black to start with, where it's going to get dirty, but then as you come down to the drops, it sort of fades into a nice color towards the end. Right. So it's really cool. That's one of my favorites, and they come with lock-in plugs.
Okay.
And then the other one for just a inexpensive, nice bar tape is Planet Bike. I do like theirs. So that's a synthetic cork type of feel tape. Comes with lock-in grips, lock-in plugs, and you just like it has what's called a gel back.
Okay.
So it's cushy. I do not recommend road bar tape that has an adhesive back. So this is where typically you're going to sort of peel off a strip, and it's got sticker basically on the back to adhere to the bar.
Yep.
I like the ones that basically have some sort of tacky surface on the back. And any mechanic will tell you the nightmare of getting a bike in. They had to change the bar tape on. Oh. And it comes off in just tiny little piecey chunks because it has been adhered to the bars for so long.
You get a new handlebar.
It's just so frustrating, right? Whereas the ones that are just basically tacky on the back, they don't move, they don't shift around if it's wrapped right, and yet then they unpeel when it's time to change. They just unpeel beautifully, and you put a new one on.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else on?
No, I think we got to move on.
Good cover. Yes. Yeah. All right. Tires. We did get a comment on this from one of our friends who said you spent an hour and a half talking about upgrades and you never talked about tubes, thermoplastic polyurethane tubes. I think he specifically said.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he was like,
okay.
How did you spend an hour and a half talking to me? You didn't talk about tubes.
Tubes? You're right. So let's talk about
Good
tubes
job.
first, because tubes are the least expensive upgrades you can make.
Okay.
For gravel and mountain, in my opinion, tubeless is the only way to go.
Yes.
Now, if
You're
you
definitely going to piss some people off on the internet.
I am. Yep. If you do go with tubes, then the TPU tube can be a nice way to go on gravel bikes.
What is a TPU tube, and are those the funny color ones down in our mudroom?
Yeah. So with tubes, you have your standard butyl rubber, the one that everybody knows, the black ones that have been around forever. And butyl rubber tubes can last decades. Mm-hmm. Then you have latex. So latex saw a little bit of a surge because people were looking for lighter weight tubes. Because butyl rubber tubes weigh a lot.
Okay, how much is a lot?
In a road tube, anywhere, the lightweight ones, and they're usually labeled lightweight, they can get down to about 100 grams for a road. And for mountain, 250 grams.
Okay. Yeah. Fine.
Okay. That's over. It's
Okay.
a half a
So
pound.
latex.
Half a pound.
So
it's a
latex.
pound per bike on a mountain bike a lot
Yeah,
of times.
no, I get it.
Yeah.
So latex came into play for lightness.
It came into play because road riders were looking for something a little lighter.
Right.
There's also the friction between the inner tube and the tire inside, and that can lead to power losses.
Oh. Okay.
So that is something that's always being sought after.
Okay.
Faster rolling.
All right.
And then we have the TPU tubes. So those are relatively new.
Thermoplastic polyurethane.
Yep. And they
Okay.
feel like plastic, and they look like plastic. They are super light,
Okay.
and but they have, when they came out, they did have some downsides, which a little bit have been addressed.
Okay.
Well, one, they're insanely expensive.
I was going to say, it almost doesn't matter what there was the problem.
Right.
What, like today,
Yes.
if someone wanted a TPU
Tube.
tube, what are the downsides to that? So expense.
Yep.
Okay.
And the valves. So this is the valves were having a problem on these, and I believe most of the valve issue has been addressed.
Okay.
All right. And you also have to use, if you're going to you can patch a TPU tube like you can patch a butyl tube, but you do have to use a special TPU patch to do so.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind.
How much does a TPU tube cost?
Well, if you get one of the sort of name brands, if you will, by Pirelli or Schwalbe or Silca, or like, I'm trying to think of Vittoria probably makes them or something.
Okay.
You can be talking $40 a tube. Now that just hurts my frugal heart.
I was going to say, because a regular tube is...
Yeah, let's call it 10.
Okay.
Yeah. So now there are a host of brands out there that are much cheaper. Like you can find them on Amazon.
Yep.
Ride Now is one. You can get those even cheaper than Amazon if you sort of go direct to the source on certain places on the internet. The thing is that it is hard to say whether the expensive brand tubes are better than the Ride Now, but I have read a couple of posts now of people who've been trying to compare, and they have had more issues with those cheaper ones.
What is and is weight really the only reason somebody would pick a TPU?
Well, so they are reportedly tougher.
Okay.
But a lot of these TPU tubes are made to be light, and they have negated the toughness to part of that. So,
right,
like
it's
a
balance.
It's a balance. Oh, Tubolino, yeah, that's another brand. So, like, they make different toughness ratings of their tubes, of their TPU tubes, and so their lighter ones don't seem to be kind of fragile.
Okay.
And there's a lot of reports of people being like, I have a leak. Like, it only lasts a day now. I can't find the leak anywhere. I've even done like putting it underwater. I can't find the
soapy
leak.
Water, yeah.
So there seems to be these mystery leaks out of a lot of these TPU tubes as well.
Okay.
But the tough ones that they market, which are still half the weight of a butyl tube, seem to last.
Okay.
So, yeah. So we do have a few TPU tubes. They are only for our emergencies on our tubeless bikes. So what they are is the final backup for
if all else has failed.
If all else has
rip
failed.
the
correct. And you
it
take
out,
the
you
valve
have to
out and put in a tube.
Okay.
That's why we carry a few of those,
Okay.
right? I do not otherwise use them normally. Now, one more thing on this.
Okay.
Road tubeless.
Road tube. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Road tubeless.
This has always been the thing with road tubeless and me in recommending it.
Mm.
And it has always kind of been, well, I do it, but is it for you? Right? Because it just takes tubeless with skinnier tires, with higher pressures, doesn't really mix all that well. It can be great, but it can also be frustrating.
Right. I mean, I will say my experience with this actually does go back to, I think it was the Linsky, was tubeless
Mm-hmm.
road.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is years ago now. So our patch kits we were still figuring out the patch kits, right? Like the bacon and
The
everything.
plugs and everything. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so I got a hole in my road tire,
Mhm.
and it was big enough that I had to patch it. But the problem was, without the tread of the mountain bike tire,
Yep.
the bacon
Yep.
was just exposed and
Exposed,
started
yep.
to stick stuff, and then like actually ripped out, and I had to put it in again.
Right.
Because at the time we didn't have I think we only had one kind of bacon, and
There weren't a lot of plug options.
yeah.
then.
And I remember at the time thinking, this isn't necessarily better.
Right.
Right? Because I was paranoid about the plug pulling out for the rest of the
Yeah.
ride
Yeah.
versus.
Yeah, and they're harder to plug and everything. So this is why I think with now TPU tubes, that I think it's probably the better choice for most people for road. I mean, I rarely got a flat on the road back in the days of just using tubes.
Okay.
So if you were to use tube, even an expensive TPU tube now on your road, you don't have the hassle of adding sealant every now and then or cleaning out the mess.
Yes.
And all that, and it's just you got a flat on the road. It's easy to change the tube, right? So I think for that reason, a lot of road probably should go to TPU tubes for performance
Yeah.
road.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I'm going to let you talk about tires because I think that could be a whole episode. I know you, but I do have a question.
Okay.
Another upgrade question.
Mm-hmm.
Tire inserts.
Tire inserts.
I'm going rogue.
You did.
I do. Where you could talk about tires for an hour.
I could.
And we will do an episode on tires. So
Okay.
I'm skipping you past that.
All right.
But I do have seen people ask about inserts, which they go in the tire
Yes.
and they're like
they're typically like foam rings. Now you
Okay.
would not use these for road.
Yes.
Okay. They make them for gravel and they make them for mountain, and you're going to see them mostly for mountain.
Okay.
And there's a lot of brands that do this now. I just had a customer come in the other day. He had put in this new brand of insert.
Yeah.
And it was crazy stiff. Like a lot of the foam ones you can squeeze like sideways.
I've never seen one. Are they like pool noodles?
They're like pool noodles.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like shaped pool
That's
noodles.
kind of
And
what I imagine it
if
when
you
I
wanna-
hear it.
If you want to call it that, yeah. And it had no give sideways. So
Oh.
it was brutal to get the tire off. I mean, usually they make getting the tire on and off very hard. This one was beyond anything I had seen.
So you put it in the tire and then you put the
Correct.
tire on the wheel.
Yes.
And then you put air in the tire?
Yeah, and you're still running tubeless. Now these are tubeless only, if you will, because you're not running an inner tube either.
So what's the point of them?
So the point is that basically you can run low pressures, and if you hit a sharp rock, which might normally push that tire in, and either give you a sidewall split
Yes.
on the rim or dent your rim,
Okay.
it's going to save that. It's not gonna allow either.
Got it.
Right? That's why you're running inserts. So they're more run by aggressive riders who are doing big drops and hitting rocks at high speed, and want to run low pressures to get that better grip.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
You don't really see that much, do you? You said that was your first?
No.
You had one.
That was of this particular brand. This is a new brand.
Right.
Yeah. No, I see them every now and then. I don't run them on my mountain bike for a sort of sneaky reason, which is, I keep my tire pressure at a point where I don't really bottom out into my rim.
Yep.
Right. Because I watch that, but I also have these carbon rims with lifetime warranties. So if I were to ever break a rim, they're going to replace it, and because I build wheels, I can just rebuild my wheel with it. So I don't even have the expense of that really. But
that is a perfect entree to the next one, which I'm a little nervous about again time-wise, which is wheels.
All right. Well, I will try to be a little bit more brief on this and just give you why you should upgrade your wheels.
Okay.
I'm going to give 2 quick stories.
Thank you.
First one was back in the 80s when I had one of my first road bikes, and it was an entry level Raleigh Technium.
Oh, the one that's downstairs. The one that Anders has.
Yeah, I still have that frame.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And that came with really basic wheels. And I can't remember actually what happened to the wheels, but I had to get new wheels.
Okay.
Okay. And I got this set of wheels which did not have all that great of hubs, but they were Mavic MA2 rims.
Okay.
A lot of people remember those rims. So this is not by today's standards. These wheels were heavy, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
But in comparison to what I replaced, I don't know what the difference was, but it was probably 1 to 2 pounds.
You were the man.
And when I put those on, it was night and day difference. It was, wow, this bike feels great.
Okay.
All right. And so that's a really nice story of weight. And then the next story is about my first carbon gravel set. So I built these in about 2016, and I bought these mountain bike rims. I bought these carbon mountain bike rims, which I think were only 22.5 millimeter internal diameter. And at the time, that was wide. That was a normal mountain bike rim. And I was like, when I built it, I mean, like everybody was still running 17, 18, maybe 19 millimeter rims, like internal on their gravel bikes and their cross bikes.
Yes.
And so I built these. We're like, okay, what's going to happen here? Like, these are really wide. And that was a revelation in terms of what it did to the tire, the air volume the air pressure I was able to go with. Then it just sort of blew up the tire a little bit. They were ultra light, 1,250 grams, I think.
Okay.
Without an exotic build. So that just made me say so. With wheels on road bikes, the reasons you should upgrade. For road bikes, Aero is one of the big ones. Okay. Aero means so much on a road bike. You will notice it.
Even if you're not racing.
Even if you're not racing, but if you're if you're a weekend warrior and you like to go fast and maybe you ride with a group every now and then, that kind of thing.
Yes.
You will absolutely notice it.
Okay, but let me say all the PMC people that I ride with.
Yes.
Would Aero wheels really make a difference for them? Okay.
Nope.
Yep.
No. You need to. You certainly.
But
is it technically making a difference? Yes. Is it of any even noticeable for them if you're doing 12, 13, 14 miles an hour? No.
If their bike came with, say, aluminum wheels, and they went to carbon, not Aero, just carbon, would that be a noticeable upgrade for them?
So as long as it is a significant weight reduction, and that kind of goes back to that first Raleigh bike. The reason it felt night and day is because I dropped so much weight off of those wheels. And so they spun up faster.
Okay.
Like the bike felt livelier and nicer, right?
Yep. Do carbon rims do any of the eating of the vibrations like other carbon parts that you've mentioned?
They can, but a lot of that comes down to the spokes.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of times it's more the spokes than the rim itself. The rim comes into play.
Yep.
Deeper rims, which you can't really get true Aero without going carbon.
Right.
Because to get that kind of depth of aerodynamic rim, aluminum would be tank. They just weigh so much. So you have to go to carbon for that. There are shallow profile aluminum rims.
Yep.
And so they give you, and they're labeled as Aero, and they give you a little benefit, but that's just such a marginal thing that there's
right. But you also mentioned the hub, right? Because when we're talking about a wheel, there's the rim.
Yep.
There's the
spokes and
there's
hub.
the hub.
Yes.
And some hubs are better than others.
One reason somebody might want to upgrade their hub is because, depending on their weight and their power and that type of thing, there are some riders who tend to blow the pawls on hubs.
What's a pulse?
the pawl. So a pawl is one mechanism of which the free hub works.
Okay.
In terms of the ratchet mechanism, right?
Okay.
The drive forward.
Oh, yes.
And so these are tiny little spring-loaded steel wings, we'll call them, right? That snap up and down and contact a tooth ratchet inside. And so when you're coasting, those are basically just running, and that's what makes the clicking noise.
That's
what
the
makes
noise.
Yeah, that's the noise. Okay, and then when you're going forward, the sharp point of that tooth engages with the ratchet ring and then drives you forward. Those can chip, they can break. The springs that keep them up and engaged wear out, that kind of thing. And some people just kind of tend to break those.
Yep.
So going to a star ratchet ring system like DT Swiss has, and because DT Swiss's patent is up, a lot of companies copy now.
Yep.
Those don't have those pawls, and those can take all of that power and torque and weight that otherwise. So that's a good reason to upgrade your hubs. The other thing would just be the smoothness. Cheap hubs on cheap bikes, out of the box, brand spanking new, will run rough. And there's not a lot that mechanics can do many times to make those run smooth. It's just really low quality bearings and bearing surfaces.
And at some point, it probably doesn't make sense to replace the hub on a low quality wheel, but it's just all these pieces. All these pieces impact the final wheel that you're buying.
It does. If somebody came in and said, I need a new hub, right? You'd be like, okay, we have to completely rebuild the wheel. That also means new spoke lengths, because hubs have different shapes where the spokes start, so therefore the spoke length would be different. And so it's a lot of times, we may just look for a wheel for you. If somebody comes in with a really nice carbon rim, but for some reason wants a different hub, we can let's rebuild your nice carbon rim.
Worth it, but the cost
that can be worth it. Yeah, absolutely.
Different.
Yes.
Then okay.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to skip you, through a couple of these because we did talk about them.
Can I go on to one more thing on wheels?
Absolutely.
Okay. I seem to be getting a lot of customers who ask about, can they fit this wide tire on their existing rims, because they think their rims are too narrow. And I don't know where this came from. This must be something that the industry has pushed. Like, all the rims have gotten wider, right? And that is, for the most part, a good thing. We have pushed into too wide in some cases, but don't get tricked by this. And I want to say there's a great graph by WTB on their website that shows sort of, all right, here's your internal rim width, and you can look across that, and on my tire width is this, and then it'll say whether it's acceptable, or optimal, or just don't combine those two. And people will be amazed, I guess, nowadays that you can put on very wide tires on quite skinny rims.
Okay.
Right.
We'll put a link in the show notes. That actually reminds me of a conversation from yesterday, which was how wide your tire could be for a specific bike.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, the manufacturer says it can be this wide, but look, I can fit more than that. And what is the where is it that they're just from a legal standpoint saying we're not supporting more than this?
Oh,
you see what I'm saying?
You need the clearance. Now, most of the time, tire clearance, the problem comes right down at the chainstays on the sides there. That's usually the pinch point for tires. Sometimes the fork, but it's almost usually that spot down there. And you do need some clearance there. There is going to be a little bit of wheel flex, especially when you're out of the saddle climbing. And you also want mud clearance, especially on gravel and mountain bikes. And so, yes, a lot of bikes you can push a couple millimeters bigger than they say the max is. Not always, but many times you can.
Okay.
And the thing is there's variations on tires. So while a company might say the max is 700 by 40, right? You might say, and that might be the case. You can't fit a Maxxis 45 in there, or let's say with a company that does like 42, right? Like so Terravelle or something like that. But one company's 40 might on the same rim might measure 39 and a half, and another company's 40 might measure 31 and a half or something like that. So
So your experience may vary.
Your experience may vary. Yes.
All right. What do you want to talk about next? Drivetrains.
Drivetrains. We talked a lot about drivetrains in the last episode, so let's just go over some of the easy upgrades here.
Okay.
And one that's very much overlooked is the cables. So this is for mechanical drivetrains.
Yes.
This is for both road, mountain, gravel, whatever.
Yes.
A lot of issues that can happen with a road drivetrain come with the friction of the cable.
Yes.
And sometimes it doesn't present itself as a problem, but when I get a bike on the stand and I push that shift lever, I go, oof, like that's just not, that is hard.
Well, and that's actually, to go back to the guys who were like, I can't believe we're complaining about pressing a button. You're not pressing a button. You're pushing a cable actuated lever.
Yes.
Right? And
there's a lot of force into your thumb to push that lever.
Even
hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of times in one ride.
You button.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Back to so sometimes you're on it and like, can people get used to it? Like they've just been pushing it so long and they don't notice that it's been getting harder and harder. But then when you get to it, you're like, well, that's harder than it should be.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I really want that shifter to feel light action, right? And that is just going to make the experience so much better. At some point, there's so much friction going on that it actually affects the adjustment of the derailleur.
Oh, okay.
Because the spring in the derailleur can now not overcome the friction in the cable, and so it doesn't quite shift down properly, right? So, or shift up technically. So, there are different cables out there, right? You have your standard on basic bikes. They come with these horrible cables that you'll actually also like you'll see rusting, right?
Yes.
I don't know why they do that. So
they're cheap.
The basic cable is stainless steel, right, and works quite well on almost every bike.
Okay.
All right. But the more bends there are in the housing, the more friction you're introducing.
You meaning the number from where the brake is,
from where the shifter is
to where the shifting happens.
Right.
The number of zigzags it needs to get through.
Every single section that is not perfectly straight is introducing friction into the system.
Right. Okay.
Mountain bikes will often have full-length housing, so that the housing goes all the way from the shifter to the derailleur. Road bikes usually have brakes in it, so they'll have like bare cable running inside the frame, and then picks back up onto housing and so forth. So that can reduce the friction. But road bikes, especially now with all of the more integration into the system, up into the head tube, or just more interesting shapes in the frames and so forth, they have just introduced more and more and more friction.
Yes.
I mean, if you go back to the day where you had Shimano STI shifters where the housing came out of the hoods, was exposed, right? Didn't go under the handlebars, right? And then that stopped on the down tube of the frame, and then you had one final loop of housing at the end. You ride one of those bikes nowadays, and you're like, oh, we kind of lost something from those days.
In the simplicity equaled
such smooth, light action shifting.
Right.
Fantastic.
It must be easier to work on, too.
Oh, well, it's way easier to work on. Way. So there are other cables to choose from, though. So Shimano has two, right? One's called OptiSlick, and it has sort of this green color.
Okay.
And the other one is a polymer one. The OptiSlick, don't bother.
Oh.
I have seen zero improvement using that over just a quality stainless steel one.
Okay.
All right. So, and they're more expensive. And like the polymer one, I think it's $16, $17, $18, right? So it's an expensive cable.
Yes.
But the more routing you have through frames, it is amazing what that cable does. So I will put that into road bikes often. Now that is spec'd as standard by Shimano on like Ultegra and Dura Ace stuff.
Oh, okay.
Right? But then it gets replaced over the years by somebody who just replaced it with standard or whatever. But if I go back and I put that in, or I'm noticing how hard it is to shift their bike, and I put that in, the improvement of the action of the shifter is remarkable. Those polymer cables do shed, so they'll look sort of fluffy, right, over time. Right?
They're so fluffy.
Yeah, so they do wear out. That coating wears out, and they do need to get it changed.
Okay.
But with Shimano road shifters eat cables anyway, so you do have to keep up on changing those out, depending on your mileage. So
Okay.
And then the final one is that there were Teflon coated cables. So Jaguar made those, and then SRAM rebranded them as SRAM, made by Jaguar. Those have gone.
Oh.
And I think because they're gone because of the PFAS in the Teflon, right? There are still a couple companies out there, small companies that make them. They do work really well. I highly recommend them for mountain bikes, but they have since replaced those with what they call slick polished. So they try to take a stainless steel cable and then polish it smoother to make it slicker.
Oh, does that work?
It does. It's better. It's not as good as the Shimano polymer ones. I don't think it's as good as the old Teflon ones, but it is good. Yeah. So
okay.
I will use those in certain cases. You can't use Shimano polymer ones in SRAM mechanical road. The bend of the cable is too much. You can't get them in there. Don't try it.
Don't try.
You can use Shimano polymer ones on SRAM mountain bike if you want to. That works just fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So that's just a great and relatively inexpensive upgrade.
Yes.
It will can dramatically improve your shifting feel.
So the cable thing, that simplicity and the difference in what I would look at is just the same cable, I think is a good next question, which is about brake pads, and that there are differences in brake pads too, right?
Yeah. So moving to brakes now. With road, you don't upgrade so the shifters and the brakes are the same thing.
Right.
Anything that's hydraulic you're not changing those. One, they're super expensive. They're the speeds for your system. The braking is not going to change there. We're going to talk about the pads and the rotors though next, right? So there's no need to upgrade that part otherwise. Okay. On mountain bikes, because the brakes are separate, I just want to mention one thing. Most people are upgrading for more power, okay? But I want to mention one thing about mountain bike brakes, and that is the lever pull force. So sort of like the shifter force we just talked about. This is an underlooked item. So for instance, like SRAM codes, a lot of people liked their power. I thought they were horrible because the amount of finger force it took to pull those brakes was horrendous, in my opinion.
Okay.
Right? And this can really affect the longer you ride, or the smaller your hands, or the younger you are, whatever, there's variations. You want an easy to pull brake lever that you can operate with one finger.
Yes.
Right?
That's the big thing, is the one finger.
The one finger,
yep.
Right. And even now the kids on the NEYC team, right?
Yeah.
You ask them and they're like, "Oh yeah, I pull with two fingers," because they don't have the finger strength yet to pull with one finger, right? The right brake they probably would. So anyway, that's just something to consider for a brake upgrade. So let's talk about the pads and rotors, because these are relatively inexpensive upgrades that can make a massive difference to your current brake set.
Okay.
All right, no matter what type of bike. Number one, rotors. So you can mix different brands of rotors with whatever brakes you have. That is a little bit of a misconception, I guess. Right? Every brand will say we optimized our rotors to work with our brakes and so forth and so on. Yada, yada, yada. Yep. Okay. But I want to make point out a couple ones. So Shimano brake rotors, they have their entry-level series, like the first three, I guess. They will have this little thing. It'll be written right on the rotor. It says resin pad only. Those rotors are not great, and they do not provide a lot of stopping power. They're just, I don't know what they're doing with that steel, but it's not good. And the reason they say resin pad only is because if you were to put in, brake pads, disc brake pads, we're going to talk about here, they come in what's called resin or organic, and then you have metallic and then sintered, and those metallic and sinter pads, they can be very, very abrasive on brake rotors.
Okay.
Right? So they have more stopping power typically, and they last longer in grit and mud. But those entry-level Shimano brake rotors, the steel is not capable of withstanding that kind of abrasiveness.
Got
so
it.
that's why they say resin pad only. At the same time, they never seem to stop very well.
Okay.
So they can, and I've
Yes.
seen it, but typically that is overall
Right.
not great. So that is one reason to upgrade. Maybe you want to upgrade those rotors.
Okay.
And then pads. So upgrading your stock brake pads, depending on the bike, high level parts will typically have quite good pads.
Yes.
But this is where the mid and lower level can often benefit from upgrades. So you might go from organic or resin pads to metallic pads because you're finding you ride your gravel bike in the mud all the time and you're finding you're wearing out brake pads.
Yes.
We have been to rainy, muddy events where people were running through even new sets of organic pads over the course of the ride.
Yes, because it was that
Completely
wet, it
through
was that
the
muddy.
completely
Yeah.
through the pad, right?
Yep.
So and that's where a sintered pad will last longer.
Okay.
Right.
So this is where you want to talk to your mechanic, or when you're buying a pad, think about the conditions you're riding in.
Yes. Then there are also pads. If you're looking for just raw power,
Yeah.
there are pads out there that will give you significantly better power than your pads. They actually tend not to be. They tend to be a sort of an organic mix, and they won't last as long,
Okay.
right? Because you're going for power over longevity,
Right.
right? But they can make a night and day difference. And the final, the other big, completely overlooked point of disc pads and rotors
Okay.
is the bed in. And I cannot
Yes.
stress this one enough, right?
Yep.
So bed in. So when you think about a disc brake clamping onto a steel rotor, it's not the pad pushing against the steel that's braking you. It's the material in the pad pushing against material on the pad that you've deposited onto the steel rotor that creates that friction boundary,
Okay.
right? And I think this is why those entry-level Shimano ones, I don't think they pick up a lot of that material, and they don't. So that's why they don't think they break as well.
Okay.
But when you get new pads, you need to bed them in. And that generally means riding the bike up to speed.
Yep.
And then braking pretty hard.
Yes.
Do not come to a full stop because you
Okay.
don't want to basically deposit a stop ridge of
You're
material.
trying to
right?
deposit material along
evenly along
on
the rotor.
the rotor.
Correct.
Okay.
And you have to do this at least a dozen times, right?
back
So-
and forth in your yard.
Yep. And
Fast
there are
SS.
machines
Fast
now
SS.
that will bed in like that. They're
Yes.
thousands of dollars, and shops are going to start to have them, but they'll do it in the shop, and so that you don't have to
Okay.
go outside with it.
Interesting.
If you generally don't want to say have a brake system where you've been using organic pads on these rotors and then just throw in metallic pads and use it on the same rotor.
Right.
You generally don't want to do it. People do it all the time. In some cases, it can work just fine.
Okay.
I don't want to be too,
Right.
rigid on that point.
Yes.
But
Yeah. And when people complain that their brakes are squeaking, whatever, that's often because the pad has been,
if they're squealing all the time,
yes, not just like,
yeah, so moisture and like high humidity and that kind of thing, or even going through a puddle, you might get a little bit of squealing out of your brake and then just goes
Yes.
away as
Yep.
it dries up. Don't worry about that.
okay.
And also don't worry about sort of if you're braking even in the dry, what's called turkey warble, and that can be sort of this funky sound
Okay.
out of your brake. That is sort of a function of the cutouts and the holes in the rotor and sort of
okay.
how it sounds going against the pad. But you're like, oh, my power's great, but they sort of make that weird noise. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's not a squeal. It's just sort of a
Yes.
metallic-y.
We all know the squeal.
So, right. Now, the squeal, if it squeals all the time, it typically means you got something oily on your pads.
Okay.
And you'll see people all over the internet doing things to clean them up. I don't want to necessarily talk for other shops. I don't even bother anymore in the shops. We just replace.
Yeah.
If you want to try to clean them up, go ahead because it might be worth your time. It is not worth the shop's time to clean. Like you're degreasing them and degreasing them and then sanding down the surface and deglazing them and then cleaning them again. And then you got to put them back in the bike. Then you got to take it outside. And you got to test it, right? Oh, no, it's still making it, right? You just took the cost of new pads right there, right? So, you'll see people with blow torches trying to bake out the oil. That's typically ruining the pad material. So, unfortunately, it is surprising. You would think you'd be able to clean them up, and it just doesn't seem to work. 90% of the time. So, even all the specific cleaners out there that say disc pad anti-squeal cleaner and that stuff,
Okay, I can give you 2 more minutes. What else do you want to talk about?
All right, let's just talk about all those little marginal gain upgrades that people do all the time.
Sure.
All right. So one is bolts. So people will buy titanium bolts or colored bolts or that kind of thing.
Yes.
That's not going to do anything for you other than make you feel happy about your bike.
Fill you with joy.
Yes, this is. I have done everything to my bike I can think of. What else can I do?
I love all the color upgrades.
Oh, I love color upgrades. I'm always here for color upgrades. The next would be ceramic bearings. Again, marginal gains. This would be ceramic bearings in your bottom bracket, in your pulley wheels, in your hubs. That's typically about it. That are supposed to just spin faster and smoother. And those can be very expensive. But again, if that's what you have left to do on your bike, you might want to go for it. But it is. Are you saving watts? Yes. According to tests, you are, but very, very tiny marginal gains there. Pulley wheels. People will upgrade their pulley wheels, their jockey wheels to bigger, and their derailleur to bigger ones. The larger they are, the less the chain has to bend going through them. The less the chain has to bend, the less friction there is. So, again, another little marginal gain. And, of course, I guess the TPU tubes.
Right.
Especially on road bikes. If you go from butyl to TPU, that's a bit of an upgrade and a little bit of a marginal gain there.
I mean, I think, the other thing we could do a whole show on, we talked about it, we never got to it, was saddles, right? Like saddles we're swapping them out all the time. They're your main connection to the bike.
Yep.
And I think it's an undervalued upgrade. Like it's an easy upgrade to add a lot of comfort. But again, what's normal? What's normal pain? Which I would say none. Right. So I think there's
and then we were just talking about colors, but a lot of people are just upgrade things for colors and shapes and brands. Sometimes you want the brand cachet. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, and there's a great way to go.
Fun.
There are whole component companies who have built their little empires just because they came out with colors. That's it.
Yeah.
Color because
Wolf Tooth. I've gotten cool little stem caps from Ostroy. Like there's so many different places you can get really cute things to personalize the bike to yourself. And as I said, this should be fun. This is not it's not serious business, man. This is bikes. Make your bike can make you smile.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's it. We're wrapping this up. We do have one piece of news, which is I am signed up for the summer PMC. I'm doing it with my friend Nancy and hopefully our daughter Sophie. We're going to do the 50-mile Sunday ride. I'm going for the trifecta this year. So I've done winter cycle. I'll do summer cycle, summer PMC, and then hopefully, if schedules allowed, unpaved.
Yes.
So that's all 3. And if you donate, I'll send you a sticker. But also, I made this thing, this piece of art that
she's
says
holding
F
up her
cancer.
Handmade embroidery,
and I am going to give it to somebody who donates to one of our funds this year.
Yeah.
So gave me something to channel. But anyway, that's it. We need to wrap this up because, as I said, I am running out of disk space.
Okay.
Ready? Cycling Together with Kristin and Steve is a production of Steve the Bike Guy, an independent bicycle shop in Eastern Massachusetts, and Sunday Marketing.
If you like the show, please leave a review or share with a friend. For show notes, links, or to leave a comment, question, or topic suggestion, visit cyclingtogether.bike.
You can follow the shop on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Just be nice at Steve the Bike Guy.
All right. We will see you next time.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.